I got my first solo ever, which was Joyful Joyful from Sister Act. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I want to do this for real. So yeah, I just kept doing talent shows and like all those music things. And then I really started pursuing music professionally about 4 years ago.
My name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
Awesome. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Sweet. So first off, where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Queens, New York.
Okay.
Where I was raised, that's a hard question because I was a military brat. So I've lived in a bunch of different places to include Delaware, Italy, North Carolina, Colorado. I live in Hawaii now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so raised in a bunch of different places. Yeah.
Sure. Wow, that's incredible. Well, I mean, I'm from San Diego, so a lot of people I knew that had military families and stuff. Were you moving like every couple of years?
Yeah, it was like every 3 years for me.
Oh, that must have been rough.
It was, but I mean, I was kind of used to it after it happened a lot. So I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
you at least you got to experience, I mean, to live in Italy. Were you there for just a few years as well?
Yeah, I was there for 3 years, and that was like fourth through sixth grade. So yeah, it was not too long, but it was.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
interesting though.
So yeah,
Wow.
super fun.
Well, how did you get into music?
Oh goodness. So I've always been singing my whole entire life. I remember being like 4 or 5 years old, listening to like the Dreamgirls soundtrack, Hairspray,
Oh, sure.
yeah, all those great movies. And then in the fourth grade, actually, when I was living in Italy, I got my first solo ever, which was Joyful Joyful from Sister Act. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I want to do this for real. So yeah, I just kept doing talent shows and like all those music things. And then I really started pursuing music professionally about 4 years ago. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Are you going to Berkeley? Did I read that? Or did
yeah.
you go to Berkeley?
Yeah, I'm actually attending Berklee online, and I have some homework today, so thank you for reminding me. Goodness. Yeah, it's super nice. I love Berkeley. The staff and all my classmates are just super nice and super fun. So
Wow, I mean, that just shows your talent to get in there.
oh,
Are you in as a vocalist or like a songwriter? Like what did you like what's your
yes.
major?
So my major is actually music business.
Oh,
I
okay.
decided,
That's brilliant
yeah,
as well.
I decided to go that route instead of like vocal performance or songwriting, only because I wanted to make sure, like, if I didn't have management or representation one day, that I'd be able to do it myself.
Mhm.
I don't have to pay anyone to do that. Thank God I do. I have representation, but in the event that
But
I
it's
don't.
still smart. Yeah, at least you know, even if another eye on whatever contract or whatever. Plus,
Exactly.
yeah, like you said, if
Yeah.
something goes awry, at least you'll know kind of how to handle a situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's
Wow.
kind of.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
did you moving around that much? I mean, like, did you ever stay anywhere for longer than 3 years? Like, I would imagine that's hard, especially if you're in middle school and the high school, like kind of like
Yeah.
those years of your life moving around a lot. Was that
Mhm.
tough?
It was tough, but thankfully I had a great support system. My family has always been super supportive when we always kind of had each other's backs through all the moving. But
Hmm.
aside from New York, because I lived in New York for 7 years, I lived in Colorado for six, and that was all of my high school actually.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so I would say Colorado is like my second most home, if that makes sense.
Sure. And at least so that way you got a whole like high school kind of
Exactly.
experience, I guess, instead of just maybe being there from like, you know, eighth grade, you got to switch, and then you're at a high school, and then you take you out for a couple of years to graduate somewhere else.
Oh gosh, I would have high school was terrible in general. I couldn't have liked any of that. So,
Were you in like the
yeah.
chorus choir, those type of things through high school?
Yes, I was. I was definitely the choir nerd. I did one musical, but I wasn't really like a theater kid. I did more theater in middle school.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was always doing the solos, always in an extracurricular. Like I was the president of my a cappella group. So
Wow.
yeah, I was into that.
What
Yeah.
about songwriting? When did you start writing songs?
Ooh, I started really like dabbling with my songwriting probably in middle school, but never really took it serious because I thought I sounded stupid. And then just recently, actually, I've been very tapped into my songwriting. So I have a lot of songs in my catalog that are written and arranged by me completely.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, it's been really like exhilarating being able to release through songwriting. So it's been a newfound love of mine.
Hmm. And was
Yeah.
that like something you're worried or nervous about at all? Like putting out your first, song with being that kind of vulnerable?
I don't think so, because I feel like all of my songs sound like sonically and technically good. So then it's just like, as long as the lyrics make sense and like flow nicely, I don't think there's anything to be insecure about, you know?
Yeah. Some people are, I mean, I would be, if I
Yeah.
was going to put out a song like, oh, like, what are people going to think of this? Like, how are they going to take
Right.
it? But like, a
Yeah.
lot of people just, that's it. They don't care. They just put it out. And
Yeah. You
it
just
is what
gotta
it
put it
is.
out. Just gotta trust yourself, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Cause is your Autumn and Winter is the project. It's out, correct?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
out
I
finally.
thought so. Yeah, I saw the music video you did for "Do Me Wrong," which is really cool.
Oh yeah, thank you. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's rad. I like it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that was so much fun to shoot. We did that, actually, I took my manager and my makeup artist up to Big Bear, which is in
Oh
California.
yeah, I'm from San Diego.
Oh,
I know where you're. We go up there just snowboard and stuff. Like I wasn't very good, but I would go with friends of
right.
mine.
Yeah, it was freezing out there. Yeah,
Oh
and then my
yeah.
photographer came too, and then we shot the video in a day, and it was done, and that was that.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, now I got to go back and rewatch it and kind of see because you're mainly inside, right? And then you go in the hot tub, which a lot of those houses have in the backyard.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
okay.
It was
That's
like a
cool though.
cabin.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
So attending Berkeley, I mean, and you're in Hawaii now. Like, first of all, tell me how did you get to Hawaii? Was that just like a decision you
Um,
made?
so actually, my man is in the military, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
out here living with him. So it's kind of just like I fly back and forth from Hawaii to LA like every 2 weeks ish.
Wow, that's a lot of flying.
It is, but it's just like I get to live here in paradise, but then, I just have to go to work and then come back. It's fine. I
Sure.
don't mind. I don't really mind it.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Wow. Okay. So you might be moving around again. I mean, that's just kind of life you've known.
Yeah, probably. Probably next year at some point. We'll
Okay.
probably mhm. So it is what it is.
Yeah, sure. Well, tell me about getting into Berkeley. Was that something you like where did you go in right when you finished high school? Like tell me about that.
Yeah, so actually I had applied to I think like 3 or 4 different colleges in Belmont University in
Oh,
Nashville.
Nashville. That's where I live
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, really? Oh my gosh, I love Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first choice, but I was gonna defer, but they wouldn't let me defer. And
Mhm.
then my contract with Zooted, like they scouted me out, and then the contract came through, and I kind of just went that path instead of school. So then
Yeah, that's smart.
yeah, I was like, okay, so like I still want to do school, but how can I do this and still do music? So I had auditioned for Berklee before I graduated, and I was actually waitlisted, which not a lot of people know. But I
Oh.
remember I remember being so sad. I was like, oh my God, I'm not talented enough. But I ended up actually they gave me a spot later on in the fall, and I just did the online program instead. So
Very cool. Did you have to send in like a tape or something? Or I guess music business, maybe not. I don't know.
no, so initially because I was applying to go in person for Berklee, I had to go and do an like in-person audition. So that included like singing scales and bringing an audition piece, like a song, and then just all that technical music theory stuff.
Was that difficult or were you pretty good at it at that point?
It was a little difficult only because I'm not the best at like sight reading. So
Yeah, I've heard they make you do that. Like it's interesting hearing. I've interviewed a lot of people that have went to Berkeley or started at Berkeley,
yeah,
where they'll have a totally different story on how to get in. So that's interesting that you. I've heard the sight reading one or the like in person audition thing, but then you'll hear other stories where it's like, yeah, they just let me in. I didn't have to do anything. It's like,
that must
oh,
have
okay. They were just, I guess, accepting everyone at one point, or you know what I mean. Not that the person wasn't talented, obviously, but it's just
right.
wild to think that there's so many different stories about getting into the same school. So you had to go audition and then they make you sight read on the spot and you had to
Yeah.
sing something, present a song that you had what written.
No, I actually sang, I think it was I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James.
Okay.
For my piece, yeah, but and then there was an interview piece too. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm never gonna get through this," but I did,
Yeah.
so
Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
thank you. Thank you.
Um, so when were you going, you decided to go online. So did like the pandemic affect you at school at all or no?
Not really, no, because
Yeah,
yeah, everything was online. If I had decided to go in person, to Belmont, that definitely would have been
sure.
bad. So I guess everything works out, everything works for a reason or happens for a reason. So I'm glad I didn't go in person because I would have been paying tuition to not be in class.
Right,
So
exactly. I didn't think
yeah.
about that. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you start writing songs, you get signed, you said to Zooted Music.
Yes. DDG.
How did that happen?
So actually it was my senior year of high school and I remember they like DM'd me on my Instagram page and I was like, this, I don't know if this is like legit, but whatever, I'll answer. So then then we set up like a Zoom interview meeting and I met with DDG. I was like, oh, I guess this is legit. And then they were like, yeah, we want to sign you. We're gonna throw together a contract and yeah, you let us know. And I was like, okay. So I signed in July of 2020. And then yeah, we kind of started everything immediately, pretty much.
Wow. And you were a senior in high school when that contract came through?
Yeah, I didn't sign though. My birthday's in April, so I didn't sign till like
Oh, what
obviously
day?
April 7th.
Oh, okay. My son's is the
Yeah.
23rd. I was just curious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so wow. Okay, so you didn't sign until you said the summer?
Yeah. So after
Okay.
I graduated.
Sure, sure.
Mm.
But I mean, to get a contract in high school, that's insane.
I know. I had lots of other opportunities that kind of just fell through. Like some of them included like The Voice, American Idol, but
Mhm.
I decided against those because I knew the contract, like, let's just say if I won, that's like a really binding contract. Like I've heard horror
Mhm.
stories about it. So I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep going independent and then something will come down the pipeline.
Yeah, I forgot. I interviewed somebody that got to the point like right before the contract kicks in. It was like they got voted off like right before. There's like a limit that you can get to. Like I don't know how many people have to be left or whatever until
Yeah,
you're like in the binding contract. So if you get booted right before it, like then they got booted right before it, and they've had this phenomenal career that would have maybe never have even happened if they would have won or advanced. It was super interesting.
gotcha. Yeah, that wasn't for me. I was like, I'm too
Yeah.
young. Like,
And
let
you
me
want to get labeled as like they'll be like, oh, that's Autumn from American Idol or whatever, then you kind of have that stigma.
yeah, which no, I did not want. So
Sure. Well, how did you I did read that you kind of started off, I mean, you have a massive fan base online,
yeah.
and it started with what, doing covers on Instagram or something like that?
Yeah, it started with doing covers, and then I did a cover of Ella Mai's Boot Up. And then that one was like the first one to go like viral. And
Okay.
high school me was like, oh my gosh, 1,000 likes. But now it's just kind of like,
That's
normal.
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how I got started was doing covers. So
And then when did you switch to your original music? Had you built a pretty good following before that?
No, not really. I did release a
Oh,
song before I signed to Zooted called More Than Beauty. But then once I signed to Zooted, I released Unbothered and then all the rest of my catalog that you hear, that's all
hmm.
like Zooted. So that's when I really started building my fan base was after the release of Unbothered. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's cool.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like, what were some of the early covers you were doing?
Oh, I did lots of Beyonce, lots of Mariah Carey, lots of just like the R&B divas, from the 90s, early
Mhm.
2000s. That's like my thing. I love that type of music. So
You
that's
kind of have
really
that not that it's like a definitely a modern version of it, but I could hear that for sure
yeah.
in your songs and your music.
Thank you. That's kind of my goal. I love that sound. So just trying to emulate it as best I can.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
tell me about the EP, Autumn and Winter. When did you start it? When did you start writing the songs to the record?
So actually goodness, it was a whole process. So I had like an epiphany this last summer, like, oh my God, my name is Autumn. Why don't I do projects surrounding the seasons? Because my name's Autumn.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, then I was like, okay, well, it's about to be fall. So let's not do fall. Let's start with winter, then do spring, summer, and then autumn will be like a full like album, not just EP. But for autumn and winter specifically, I'd already had songs in my catalog that I was like, we need to release these. Like, how
Hmm.
can we jazz them up a little bit to make them release ready? And then I kind of wanted to tell a story throughout the project, just about like the tales of a young woman exploring relationships and navigating that type of thing. So then I wrote some other songs. I think it was It's Me and Never. So 1 and 2 on the EP,
Hmm.
to kind of go along with that story. And that was probably back in October or November. And then, yeah, we released it on December 21st. So it was really
Wow.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you started recording those in October, and then 2 months later, you had to put the whole EP out.
Yeah, for the most part. And then
Wow.
two of the other songs had already been done. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's just do it. Let's put it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 What about playing the songs live? Do you want to go like, I know not everything is like 100%. I don't know. Maybe it is all open up now. But
Mhm.
like, would you have any plan to like tour the EP, or how are you gonna, do you have
Yeah.
like play live
My
or anything like that?
Yeah, my team and I are kind of working on that plan specifically. I think it would be best maybe to get under an artist who is already established enough that has their own tour.
Oh
That
yeah, like
way,
a support slot.
exactly, yeah. And then I do want to do like a little showcase. I think maybe I don't know when. I have to figure it out. Probably in the summertime,
Uh-huh.
um, because I'll have more projects out then, and then I'll be able to do a full show. So we'll see. That's kind of in the works right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. You said you had that one song that kind of worked out. I'm just going back to your social medias for a second.
Yeah.
You had the cover that went, you said that had like 1,000 likes, right? That was your viral moment. Like,
Yeah.
and
Hold
did
up.
it like what was kind of the next big thing that had happened? I mean, to have the following you have, was it just like kind of a very slow, steady build, or was there a moment when something really like spiked and you're like, oh my gosh, like aside from that one moment, like was there another time that happened and you saw like a big, you know, change in your fan base?
Yeah, that was probably so I'd done that cover and then there was like Beyonce's Halo
Hmm.
song. There was like a challenge for that riff, like in the second verse or whatever. So I did that because I love Beyonce, so and I knew the song.
Right.
And that one was like pew, like it exploded. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I did another Beyonce one, which I think it was Countdown. And
Uh-huh.
then two of those together back to back was just like, oh my gosh. Like, so I think that really put me on the map. I think from those two covers, I got 10,000. I reached 10K. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And oh my gosh, it was so like amazing finding that out, like just watching the numbers go up, like, oh my God,
Yeah. Was that on
finally.
Instagram, or like where did that happen at?
Yeah, everything I did started on Instagram and YouTube. And then
Yeah, you have a big following on YouTube too.
yeah, YouTube, I wish I could figure it out better. YouTube is a little bit slow now with TikTok and everything,
Uh-huh.
but TikTok I got into like after I would say like 2 years ago, and now I have the biggest fan base on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and that's just all from doing covers, remixes,
That's
challenges.
Yeah. Did you have like, I mean, were you to be like in high school, where was it, I mean, in 2020, I guess, yeah. So was Instagram and having those followers something that you were building while you're still in high school?
Yeah, so I actually started doing that. I think it was the sophomore leading into my or sophomore summer leading into my junior year. So yeah, it was during that time that I started doing all that.
When you started gaining a following and people, the numbers are growing and growing, did you get any like, were people mean to you at all, or like did you get any bullying? Because I know just at this, I'm old, so this wasn't a thing when I was growing up, but I could imagine, since everyone's kind of chasing the like cloud and the followers and the likes and the comments and this and that and the other thing, having, a significant amount of people following you,
Mhm.
um, I can imagine that kind of getting, muddy at school, or not really.
No, it didn't really for me. I think a lot of people knew that's what I wanted to do. And
Uh-huh.
so the people who were supportive, and then I mean, it was high school, so not everybody was paying attention, not everybody cared, but you know,
Okay.
um, I will say now that I have a little bit more of a following, there's some people from high school who like I haven't talked to and since I graduated and they're kind of like coming back around now and I'm like, oh,
They're like, hey, like
okay.
share this video of me.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
That's funny. That's really
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, I just figured maybe just if you
Mhm.
have, just tag me in this or like blah blah blah. Like especially when you start doing really well, then everybody's like, "Oh, I went to high school with her. Oh, like I know Autumn because we had a class and sophomore year together or whatever."
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's what it is.
It
I'm
is
never
what it is. It is
Yeah,
what
I'm
it
never
is.
gonna be like that person. Of course, I'll always support the people I know?
Right, right, right. But it's funny. So you just put out the project last month, and you said you're going back and forth from LA to Hawaii like every other week or every 2 weeks. Do
Every
you have a bunch more music? Like, have you just been writing? Like, tell me where
Yeah.
you're kind of at now.
Yeah, so, when I'm here in Hawaii, I actually draw a lot of inspiration, like, for different things when I'm here, like, I'll go to the beach and write and stuff like that, and then
Hmm.
when I'm in LA, that's kind of my time to, like, make it a physical thing, like, so I'll write a song here in Hawaii, and then in LA, I'll just record it, and then it's done, and we'll have a new song in my catalog, yeah, and that's pretty much it. I'm traveling every, like, 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll stay out in LA for, like, up to a week, and then
Hmm.
just come so, it's a great I'm not complaining, it's a great situation I'm in, I would
Sure.
take the traveling 6 hours back and forth all day over a 9 to 5. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Wow. Well, I appreciate your time today, Autumn. Thank you so much for doing this.
thank you for having me.
I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh, that's a hard one, I would just say, number 1, it's cliche and everyone says it, but just stay true to yourself. And then number 2, biggest thing is to be consistent, believe in what you do because you're gonna do what you do best. Nobody else is gonna do what you do, right? So those are my 2 biggest things, and just believe in yourself, and everything will work out.
Bringing it backward.